Hello everyone, I'm Komal Hussain, a general management student at XLRI. Today we have Shubhayu Sengupta, Chief People Officer Zeta, and distinguished alumnus of XLRI. He comes with 27 years of global experiences across industries like PwC, Swiss Re, Wells Fargo, and now at Zeta, where he provides next-gen banking technology to financial institutions globally. With an engineering degree from Jadavpur University and a management from XLRI, he has this principle of which says that HR is less about policies and more about people. Sir, it's an absolute honor to have you here. Welcome back to XLRI.
Thank you so much.
So for warm-ups, I want to give you some scenarios where we can ask about what does an HR should do, do's and don'ts for them. So here are some scenarios. Rejecting a candidate because of their LinkedIn profile picture looks unprofessional.
You want the answer as a yes or no?
Yes. Would you reject them or not?
Not necessarily.
Using AI tools to screen resumes before a human looks at them.
Yes.
Offering unlimited leave and trusting employees to manage them.
Would love to do that. Unfortunately, can't.
Okay. Hiring a candidate who has switched 5 jobs in 6 years, maybe.
Would be worried.
Paying one top performer 2x more than rest of them.
As long as the person is within the salary band for the role.
That's
Yes.
allowed. Okay. Allowing employees to work from anywhere, even from a beach or mountains.
Depends on the organization. I mean, the organization believes that there's flexibility that can be given. Yes, but if the organization believes that we need to have people work from office because of the nature of the work,
Right.
then we need to think about it. But I think it depends predominantly on the nature of the work.
Letting managers decide promotion entirely on gut feel.
I think evaluating performance based on data is important to understand the what, but also getting an understanding of the why and the how is critically important as well. So it has to be a combination.
Needs to be a combination. Perfectly well said. Encouraging employees to share mental health struggles openly at work.
You need to have the right ecosystem for people to feel comfortable. Our society doesn't necessarily provide that psychological safety,
Right.
because even today it's considered to be taboo.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love a world where people can openly share and we can help people, because ultimately a truly healthy, well-rounded person is somebody that you want to contribute to creating.
Right. Next scenario would be rejecting a great candidate because they don't fit the existing team culture.
Yes.
So team culture above all.
Very, very important. And again, there's no right or wrong about culture. I think whatever is the culture that your organization has, the alignment needs to be there. And remember, there's always more than one way to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important that whatever is going to work effectively in your organization in terms of that approach is very important for whoever you're trying to hire to see if they are aligned to it. In fact, in my view, it's mutual. Even the person should take a call, depending on the perceived understanding or research the person's done about the culture of the place that he's applied to, should he join or not.
Replacing exit interviews with stay interviews.
Yes, I would believe it's important, because I think stay interviews give you an understanding of the lead factors versus a lag, which is an exit. It also helps you understand and build on what is helping people to, build that psychological contract with the company. It helps you to validate with whatever you've designed for people today, is it working effectively or not? Because believe me, people don't stay because of salary. People stay if they feel valued, respected, and the kind of work they do.
That's an additional pull.
Absolutely.
Using memes and humor in official HR communication. Would you encourage that?
Depends on the nature of the communication. and the audience of the communication.
And do you think it depends on the organization as well?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the kind of environment I work in today, perhaps it does help create a better connect. Because I work in a startup with a bunch of young professionals. But I've also fallen flat when I've tried to make a board meeting sound humorous. Right? So it's very important that you know the context, because humor can be very important and potent a tool to help you create an engagement. But using it in the right place, humor or any kind of perceived flippancy, it's very important to contextualize it, because otherwise it may just fall flat. Right? I've been in a sales presentation where at the end of it, the client has come back and said that you would make a fantastic stand-up comedian. Now that actually wasn't a compliment.
Okay.
Because it was a sales pitch. Right. So the humor went well probably, but the impact of the effectiveness, the context didn't work well.
Right.
So yeah.
And giving employees stock option instead of yearly bonuses?
Again, depends on the level and the and whether it's a listed company or not, because then the value becomes very different, the perceived value. See, remember we were talking about hyper personalization. At an entry level, what is more important? Is it cash in hand or is it deferred cash? Right? So you can't have a one-size-fits-all approach to deciding the total rewards pay mix. It depends on the career level people are at. It depends on where the organization is, what's the value of the brand, and finally, what really would create an impact for an employee. So I think it's a combination which has to be judiciously thought through.
Since we are already talking about salary, so here's the next one. Publishing company salary bands openly on the internet.
I'm more than happy to do that, provided the salary bands are really designed in a scientific and, pardon me for saying, artistic manner, because for me rewards is a combination of science and art. Right? If the strength of your pay ranges is really impactful and effective, I'm more than happy to publish it out there.
And have that transparency.
I mean, look, since the day I've been working, people, much as you would want them not to know each other's salary, why make it look like a black box? Tell people what they are worth, or the job that they're doing, what they should be worth in the market we are in, right? Because remember, when you create a salary or a pay range, it depends on what competitor basket you are comparing yourselves against, right? What percentile of the market you want to be, right? If you've got those things right and you size the job accurately, then the data should reflect what the market is. So writers will go and share it. Anyway, there's enough ambition boxes and other companies of the world who are publishing all this data.
Right. And letting employees anonymously rate their managers every quarter.
Why anonymously? Why can't we have a culture where people can openly rate? It also depends on the maturity of the people who are evaluating or rating. Right? So it's a combination of both. But I've always believed that I would want a culture where people can openly come up and speak, because you design stuff, you are implementing things, but the voice of employees is very important. The day you are able to build a culture where people, without any concern, so the psychological safety we'll keep talking about, can have that freedom, can have that comfort, can have that feeling of safety to come and talk about things and give feedback. I think they will also realize the seriousness of the feedback.
Right.
The fact that you can't keep on complaining that the density of sambar in the cafeteria is low to a HR leader, versus talking about the fact that the career levels need to be better defined. I think that's a better use of time for both the individual and the HR leader, right? And that can happen when you have that kind of an environment and culture of transparency.
Absolutely. So it's safe to say you are due for these. Let's start at a personal level. We'll go into the questions. So since you did your engineering and then you pivoted to an HR role, so what was the moment in your life or your career that you decided that this is what I want to do, or what moment made you stick?
So kind of interesting that the two parts to it, I guess. One is that I worked for 4 years as an engineer,
Right.
not in high tech or software. I was in hardcore manufacturing,
Okay.
right? So much as my daughter still keeps saying that I didn't do justice to my engineering seat, I worked for 4 years in hardcore engineering. Right? In that journey, I found a lot of people who were HR managers. By the way, some came from Excel. So I met both
Right.
kinds. One who had never gone to the shop floor and would talk about increasing productivity and efficiency, employee engagement. And I used to always think as an engineer on the shop floor that the person has never come here, has never experienced the dirt and the grime of the floor, has never experienced the heat and the high temperature that we engineers and my team works in.
Right.
What does he even get about engagement, motivation, and all the fancy stuff that he's talking about, right? And I really liked doing similar sessions. I didn't have the knowledge, but with whatever little I could gather from reading, I should do sessions for my teams around how do we engage, how do we kind of build motivation, do team meetings. So in some perverse manner, because of the lack of ability that I thought in those HR managers, I thought maybe I can do a better job, and it's something which also made me feel very nice when I talk to people. And it's not about the fact that I liked interacting with people. It was more about making them understand the significance of what they do, helping them to develop better, right? Even though 4 years I wasn't very senior, but I was still there, right? So that was one breed of HR managers. Then there was another breed of HR managers I met during those 4 years who were brilliant, right? They really understood the nuances of what's happening on the floor. They would really engage with you in a very structured manner. And he said, look at the impact that they're making. And I felt I want to be there. And the second reason, this was around the HR people that had met.
Right.
The second reason was, it was kind of, might sound a little arrogant. I had gone to a decently good engineering college called Jadavpur University.
Yes.
Wasn't easy to get through. It's another thing that I was a lousy engineer, but the college is fantastic, right? And somehow I got through. So I had this thing in my mind that I want to do an MBA, but I want to do it from the best. And in those days, it was fundamentally IIMS, FMS, SPJ, SIMBI, and TIS and Excel, right? And I didn't know that when I was applying to Excel that you had to write upfront and decide HR or business management. But I'd heard a lot about the fact that Excel, and wrongly so, was very famous only for HR.
Right.
So I thought अगर best से करना है तो HR ही करना है Excel.
Okay.
So yeah.
That's how.
Yeah.
And so when you pivoted to HR from engineering, what were some pleasant surprises or cultural shock that you faced?
So I started my career in consulting after Excel with PwC. Now, what was amazing was it was a very small practice. So you pretty much did everything. One day you would be designing a variable pay plan for a healthcare company. Next day you would be designing compensation structure for a manufacturing company. Third day you would be looking at org design for a public sector organization. Right. So pretty much dabbling in multiple areas of HR, which kind of helped us build both breadth and depth. Though I believe often at the expense of the client, because I had no HR background. Right. So what was a shock was that here I was trying and going and telling CHRO, who is a client, that hey, you know what? I come here to redesign your performance management framework. And if you were to turn around and say that, okay, how many performance management frameworks have you designed in the past? Maybe one. How many years have you done HR? 6 months. So the fact that consulting could help me in spite of my perceived inadequacy of experience in HR, help another senior HR leader was a huge surprise, but also a challenge. And how do you make that person feel that, hey, you know what, I come here not because I know your organization better or your performance management process better than you. You know the best, by the way. I have come here because I bring a different perspective based on multiple other clients and what's happening in the market. And together we'll help you succeed to build a better framework than what exists today.
Right.
And that entire perspective, or point from where you function as a consultant, was something challenging, inspiring, and pleasantly justifying my desire to do something and make a difference. So I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
It does. It does. So, so since we touched point about technology and making changes, so I this is a really inquisitiveness of mine that I want to ask. So, do you think that ATS helps companies truly find the best talent, or does the filtering, which sometimes we lose out on great candidates?
Look, I mean, anything that I believe you mean the applicant tracking
Yes.
system, right? So you need a tool,
Mhm.
right? Now you need a tool. In my view, you need an application or platform for the entire employee life cycle.
Mhm.
Part of which is talent acquisition, which is the start of the life cycle,
Yes.
right? So you do need something to help you have a process which is effective in terms of timeline, because there's a business need to hire quickly, right? And for one position, there are 500 resumes which come in,
Correct.
right? Now, in the past, what would you do? You would still do some stereotyping,
Mhm.
right? I call this stereotyping because you're trying to hire for a sales job. Your assumption is that somebody who in the resume has extracurricular activities, right? And I'm talking about hiring a fresher, or has been, taking center stage in managing events, or has been in some official capacity like a placement cell leader or a marketing, like a maxi that we have in Excel, has been a leader there, which means the person has organizing skills. So these are all assumptions you're making, right? The fact that he's an extracurricular means that he must be an extrovert. Only an extrovert can do a sales job.
job.
You're kind of doing a lot of stereotyping and assumptions. But hey, you know what? It does help. Because when you're looking at 100 resumes, you are actually making your life easier, because the probability of somebody succeeding with all those would be higher. It doesn't mean that others who are introverts will not be a good salesperson, right? Now that today you're substituting with a tool, which makes your life far more easier. But ultimately, I also believe that while today you can do conversations virtually, even I believe in placements in Excel, some companies do virtual interviews. I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, if it's COVID, your hands are tied, that's a different conversation. But I genuinely believe that you need to meet that person at least once face to face, both for the individual and for the company. Because the individual needs to understand the people they're going to work with and meet them face to face. And for that organization, the team or the leaders, they need to meet face to face to know who's that person that they want to work with. I think it's very important to have a face to face conversation. It just is critical for success, because at the end of the day, any recruitment decision is still a gamble for both parties. As an individual, you're taking a punt. As a company, also, you're taking a risk. So, whichever way you can eliminate the degrees of risk, in my view, is not just depending on a tool, but having that final face-to-face conversation.
Also, sir, I heard you speak about psychological safety very passionately. So, in your experience of building organization across diverse geographies that you have worked in, how have you approached creating like psychological safety around?
I think there are a couple of things here, right? I think, as a leader, showing vulnerability is important. I'm sure there are a lot of other leaders who will not agree with me.
Right.
But I do believe the moment you show vulnerability, you show you're also human. You can fail. No one is perfect. And, there are times when I felt that the team is not doing well. I'll get the team together and I'll talk to them of the fact that how I have not done well as a leader. That's my standing in position. it then helps get a much better conversation in the room. Am I the most successful leader? Absolutely not. You go and talk to my team today, they'll say 15 things about what I need to do better. Right? Having said that, I think create that, the leader being vulnerable and showing vulnerability is very important to creating that space. The second is you need to get to know your team very well. Psychological safety will come later. Today, I don't know how many of us know our teams very well. Because if you don't know your team well, you can't trust your team. If you can't trust your team, how will you earn respect? If you can't earn respect, how will you make people feel safe? So, the biggest disservice we do is to our own teams is that we shy away from having difficult conversations.
Right.
Why do you think we shy away from having difficult conversations? Because we haven't created that culture of safety, culture of trust, culture of respect. The moment you keep that already as a solid base, then psychological safety is bound to follow. It's like the trapeze artists, right? I mean, I'm sure you haven't gone and seen a circus live. Have you seen a circus?
Not sure.
In those days we used to have the great majestic circus and all. And the act we used to always look forward to is the trapeze.
Okay.
Where there are people flying.
Right.
Right? On these kind
cycles.
of cycles on wire, right? Now, there's a net below. And they're able to do it because there's a net which will save them in case something goes wrong. That's psychological safety. That's what the leader needs to provide, that net. Because remember, and I've said this multiple times, whether it's organizations or leaders, you remember them when they've stood by you, when things have not been good. It's easy to stand by when things are good. Right. What is there to stand by? It's only when times test you and challenge you, the strength of leadership comes to the fore in the way they stand behind you. Right? So I think it's important, and there's a way to do that, right? I mean, I've always believed that one way to create psychological safety or the extension of that, which is empowerment, is start equipping people to be more visible, take charge, where even if they go wrong, the impact is not very high. Because then they gradually learn, right? So I'll give you an example. So, in the past, in board meetings, I had to go and present about what are the compensation increases we are proposing. Then one day I thought that why isn't my total rewards leader there? So I went and spoke to my MD and said that why can't he present? Are you sure? I said, we'll do it one step at a time. So I called him in and I told him that, hey, you know what? You'll be sitting in for the board presentation. I will present, right? And you will realize how bad I am so that you can be better.
Okay.
Right? So he sat there. He just observed. The second time he observed. The third time he presented. And I was there. Right? And he also realized that my benchmark is so low, he can't be worse than me. Jokes apart. I think it's about how you graduate somebody and set him up for success. The moment you build the trust and respect with your team, they know that you are there to set them up for success. That's a huge psychological safety.
So making that push from the leader is also a sort of psychological.
It is, with the constant feeling that I have your back.
I have your back.
Right? That's very, very important.
Right. So since we are in a MBA college, I need to ask you some MBA graduations questions. Like MBA grads are often confused about and have self-doubts about their path. So was there a moment in your life where you had a sort of confusion or like what is going to happen in the future?
Yeah, I think you're perhaps asking the wrong person this question. I keep telling myself that I probably should have planned my entire career better. But then I kind of take a step back and say, that's fine. I'm good at where I am, right? I think I've been very fortunate to have been in the right place at the right time. Gotten a lot of opportunities which early on compared to some people in my batch. And it's all by luck. But I also believe that, it also needs hard work, right? So as long as you're passionate about what you do, as long as you take pride in it, and as long as you are earnest in your efforts, don't think too much. things will fall in
Think
place,
so.
right? I mean, you might feel confused because you are overthinking. I think the generation today does a bit of overthinking, right? Also because there's so many variables around them. In some ways, I feel happy for the generation because there are multiple opportunities, but with that comes a lot of pressure because then you have too many choices. In my case, for instance, I want to be a sports journalist. But my father said, sports journalism? Never heard of it. Engineer bano. So I became an engineer. But there's no question of thinking, rethinking. Somebody took the decision for you. And you stayed with it, right? And on hindsight, I do believe that my father did the right thing because the base was created.
Right.
I'm not saying that everybody has to be an engineer. Please don't think that way. I was a horrible engineer, right? But it helped me. It helped me get a job. It helped me get some experience. It helped me get into Excel, right? So I think the challenge today is that because there's so many choices and there's so much of pressure from all over. I mean, whether it's social media, whether it's the peer group, whether it's parents, whether it's the world, that's what creates confusion. But just believe in yourself, be passionate, follow passionately what you want to do. I mean, there should be passion in it. If you're not passionate, don't do it, right? Because then you won't be happy, right? And as I said, you're passionate, take pride in it, and put in your best foot forward. I mean, you folks are so knowledgeable. Honestly, when I look at me at your age, I wouldn't even dream of being so confident like you are, or all your colleagues are, right? I mean, you're so equipped with what's happening around you. You are so analytical in your thinking. When you present an argument, there's so much of logic behind it. And whether it's you, whether it's my daughter, I just marvel at all of you that that's what I said saying in the session, that get young people in your team. You'll feel so energized. So the young people should also feel that they shouldn't have self-doubts. They're so well equipped to take on the world.
Right. And sir, there are so many diverse environment that we are facing, like hybrid work, global team, digital transformation, diverse workplace are there. What should future managers do to succeed in these sort of environments?
I think it's important to develop a global mindset, and that's a very kind of very generic, much abused term, global mindset, right? Let's break it down, use some first principles and break it down to basics,
Sure.
right? Essentially is that, do I know the kind of people I work with, the different cultures I work with? As an example, I think in various stages of my life, I worked with India, Philippines, and the US. 3 completely different cultures, right? And the more you understand that well about the nuances, so there's something called a culture Hofstede model, which talks about certain parameters of
Yes.
culture. Now, if you break it down to those parameters of culture and look at India, Philippines, and US, you will see people at different points of that scale. Having that awareness helps you tremendously to be an effective leader, right? So I think it's important to build that awareness of working in global environments. Second is the ability to work in metric structures is becoming very, very important. You might functionally, so it's like a squad and a tribe, right? Squad is, suppose I'm a person who is into back-end development,
Right.
or I'm into product engineering. I belong to the product engineer job function, which is my tribe. But then because of different client requirements, I might work in client A, client B, client C, client D. So I will be part of 4 tribes, right?
Right.
So a tribe will be led by one manager. The squad is led by one manager. So at any given point of time, you might be actually reporting into or aligned to 3 managers because you're working 2 client engagements, which is the the squad A and B. But your tribe is product management or product engineering. So the ability for people to work across different org frameworks is like it's like basic these days. So the maturity of an individual and the different leaders to work in such environments is becoming very important. So I would urge people, leaders, to keep that in mind that this is becoming a new normal. That's quadrant right thing, right? I think the other thing which I would believe is important for people to be successful is that, at the end of it all, you've got to be a good human being. If you're a good human being, that's common across all cultures.
Right.
I don't think some American will say that I want to work with a bad human being, and Philippines would say that, it's okay if it's 50-50, and India would say I want an absolute great human being to work with. I think the basic values of trust, respect, showing care, being humane, transcends cultures, generations. So if you take care of these three elements, I think the ability to work in a with global culture, nuance, understanding, ability to work in fluid structures where metrics is the order of the day, and the third is fundamentally be a good human being, I think will help you succeed.
I think that would be the key takeaway, being a good human being and the leader. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We heard we touched points on a lot of things about your future, like past experience, how you pivoted to HR leader, and of course, touching points on psychological safety and showing your vulnerability. It was great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.